So we're up to in the middle of the sugya of Prizbul. Prizbul is Hillel's takana to go ahead to ensure that a loan was not taken off during Shemitah. You know, we saw this Shemitah's Ksafim, Shemitah's Karka, Shemitah's Ksafim. We said Ismail said speaking to Rabbanon, and therefore Hillel was able to go ahead and uproot it, and that Shemitah, Ismail said, is not Mishamit, and therefore he said that the Shibud would be Mishamit to Rabbanon, and he came up with the idea of Prizbul, exactly how that worked. He would either work through a din of Hefker Bes and Hefker, or work with din of Sheva Al Tasa. We saw two opinions yesterday exactly how Prizbul worked. It's really given over to Bezdin. The star is given over to Bezdin, and Bezdin has the capacity to mafka one and take away and give to another. And now the question is, the Gemara is discussing the etymology of the word Prizbul. So we're up to the last line, Lamed Vav Amid Beis. Prizbul Omer Rav Chisda, Paris Buti Buli Ubuti. Now that helps us out a lot, right? Yeah, right. Says Rashi, Paris is takana. It's a takana. So it's takana for the buli and the buti. Says the Gemara, buli elu ashirim. These are the wealthy people. Dichsiv, Yeshavarti eskaon uschem. Says in the Teichach, I'll break the gaiva of your strong ones. Yosef, who are these? These are elu beloyish of Yehuda. These are the rich people of Yehuda. So you see the word bulois, which is like buli, is wealth. And buti is elu aniyim. Dichsiv have tavitenu. You should give a loan. And lashon tavitenu. You see the word boat at the end of the word. It says the top Rashi, buli buti is a takana ashirim vaniyim. Ashirim, what's the takana for the ashirim shaloi yafsidu? They won't take a monetary loss. Vaniyim shaloi yinalu delis b'fneim. They won't go ahead and beat the doors closed in front of them, and they'll be able to go ahead and get a loan. Even though that's not the reason. And the reason he did it was because people stopped lending, and they're being over the lavi shomlachan, right? The pasuk telling the that you shouldn't be able. Not that was the reason, but there was a gain nonetheless. That for commerce to continue, it was a valuable thing. So Prizbul is a takana for the buli and the buti. That's the opinion of Rav Chisda. Here is another opinion. Amalei Rava le'uza. Rava said to Le'uza. Rashi says Le'uza is a person who spoke a different language. He doesn't tell us which one. My Prizbul, but he must have heard that they used lashon of Prizbul. So Amalei told him it says parsu de milsa. It's an adjustment of the matter. In other words, it's a takana for the thing. So the same lashon. Amrav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Yisaimim ain't tzrichim Prizbul. Yisaimim do not need a Prizbul. Again, what's the site of Shemitah being mishamitz la. You're not able to go ahead and claim the loan. You're not claiming the loan, but if it's in Bezdin, you'll collect it whenever you want. You can't claim it. Bezdin will claim it for you. You're not claiming it. So that's the mechanics of exactly how it works. So if Yisayimim are the Bezdin is the father of Yisayimim, it would make sense that they don't need a Prizbul because it's already there. It's already in the hands of Bezdin, right? That's what the Gemara says. So Yisayimim ain't stricken Prizbul. V'chein tani Ramechama Yisayimim ain't stricken Prizbul. Why? Rabbi Gamliel Beis Dino lav dafka Rabbi Gamliel. That was one round at a time. Rabbi Gamliel Beis Dino avim shel Yisayimim. They're the avim of Yisayimim, and therefore it's not necessary for Prizbul because they have it already. Tan Hasam ain't kaisim Prizbul el ala karka. You only write a Prizbul if the loan is backed up by karka. In other words, that the loiva had karka. And why? Now, why is that? Says Rashi, Ela ala karka, im yesh karka leloiva. If the loiva had karka, if he had land, then we'll write a Prizbul. Why? Leitakinu ela bizman shachayiv kishar roiv shtaris shehin nigvin min akarka. They were attacking Prizbul in the time where shtaris, which the majority of shtaris are collected from karka. Davi milsa de shchichi. In other words, when you go ahead when you go ahead and have a loan, you're going to loan a person's going to take a loan when there's a collateral behind the loan. If it's not, then you're not going to lend. So for a person to lend without collateral is a milsad le'shchicha. And what do we know? Milsad le'shchicha like us barabanan. And therefore Hillel wouldn't have made the takana. So Memela Prizbul will only be in the normal situation. What's the normal? What we say in English, the normal situation, like in Yiddish is normal, right? The normal situation is when there is loan, the loan is backed up, supported by karka. So therefore, In loy, but there's no karka. Mizakeh b'toich sedeu. The malvul mizaka. Let's say a loan did take place without a karka, and he wants to write a principal. So the mizaka, the malvul would be mizaka to the loiva in the malvis field, a piece of karka kolshu, even a little bit. And even if the little bit is much considerably less than the amount of the loan, we saw the mice of Gitin and Ksubis Vayabaya, that a loan land can be used many times over to pay up a loan. The kama kolshu, what do you say? How much is a kolshu? Even the amount that it would take to go ahead and plant a stalk of cabbage. So two dinner, right? You sign in, there's no principle for you sign in. Shleim, how that? Sit down, Shleim. Come on, let's learn some Torah. Anyway, so let's see, we have Avi upstate. Okay, so we see the din of principle. That principle what is your Simon don't have to write a principle because already the shtar is already considered in Bezdin, and you only write principle on karka because you need a milsa de shchicha, and a loan is usually what's supported right by karka, supported by karka. So, and if he doesn't have karka, if such a case, and you want to write a principle that shvir should not be mishamit, then you could be mizaka him. Yeah. Then you could be mizaka him even a kolshu, even a bit of land. Rabbi Yehuda, I feel the shilu makam tanul karayim, even if you lend him a place that can go ahead and put up his tanur karayim, different types of ovens. Koisvin of prusbol. Is it really so that you need karka? But tani hillel ain't koisvin prusbol ella al atzis nakav bilvad, and utz right nakav in shein nakav loy. In other words, it has a mai va'ikam mekaymai. So the reason why in Utzitz Nakov we had earlier in the Masechta, right? An Utzitz, a flower pot that has a hole in it has a din of karka because it's being nurtured from the what? We had a look of if you write a get on the Utzitz Nakov, whether mechuber or not, right? And so it's mashma on an Utzitz Nakov you could because it has a din of karka. An Utzitz that's not Nakov you can't. Now forget about the Utzitz Nakov. The Utzitz Nakov is taking up space. The space that it's taking up, that kol shehu, that area should be enough to go ahead and facilitate the writing of a principle. That's why Fred the Gemara. So Fred the Gemara Kasha is like, do you really need to have karka in order to go ahead and write a principle? Like you need I feel a kol shehu. That's the kasha. I feel a kol shehu. Ella. You see that dafka atzis nakov has a din of karka, shen nakov loy, even though it's taken up spot. Amai va'ikam mekomo, but tzvicha de monach asichi. This atzis that's einu nakov is lying on pegs. It's lying on pegs, and the pegs are holding it up, so it's suspended in the air. You'll ask the place that the pegs should be enough. It says in Mashmina that the Malva owns the pegs and their place, and for some reason it's not being considered as rishus. The Rashba speaks about it. Ravashi makna lo gidmo de dikla. Ravashi, he would be makna the loiva, a stump of a dekel tree, and that will be enough to own ownership to write a principle. The cost of a principle. Rabbanan debei Rav Ashi, masri melayu lahadadi. They wouldn't even write a principle. They would speak to each other. They would say the lashon of principle. Masrani aleichem, give me over dayanim. They would say between each other. They would give over the shtar to each other without writing it up. Rav Yonasan masa milu Rav Chia bar Abba. Amalei, so Rav Yonasan said to Rav Chia bar Abba, besides the words I told you, the formula of Masrani, do you need more than that? Some like tzrichas, you don't need more than that. Tanrabanan, ein like karka, ul arev yesh like karka. Okay, the loiva doesn't have, but the loan was guaranteed by an arev. The loan was guaranteed by an arev. So can the arev, if the arev has karka, would you write a principle? Kaisna principle, you would. Loy ul arev ein lem karka, ul chayev lo yesh la karka. The loiva doesn't have, the arev doesn't have, but the loiva is owed money by a third party. So guys, Ruvain's the malva, Shimon's the loiva, and Shimon is the malva of Levi. So Levi owes Shimon. So now, since Levi owes Shimon, and it's like Shimon has karka, and therefore that would facilitate the writing of a, if A owes B and B and C owes B, and then C owes A. That's called Kibuda de Reb Nassan. Then Kresel Pisbulim de Reb Nassan. The Tanya Reb Nassan, Aimer, very famous saying. So in other words, if Ruvain, Shimon owes Ruvain, and Levi owes Shimon, then Levi can pay Ruvain. He can pay off the chayiv. So minayin lenoishe b'chaveru mana. If you owe your friend a mana b'chaveru minayin shemoitzi mizem nois mizeh. How do you know Ruvain can take from Levi, who owes Shimon, and pay Talmud Leimar? It says v'nasan. It says the parsha of someone who swears falsely and admits to it. It says v'nasan. He should give asher asham loy. He should give to the one that the principles by him. It should say v'nasan asher noishe boy, to the one that he owes the money to. It doesn't say the one that he owes the money to. It says the one who has the principal. So wherever the principal is, that's the one you would pay to. So in this case over here, the principal of that Levi owed Shimon is considered by Ruvain and Mamela. Shimon has a karka, and therefore you write a principal. Tanan Hasan. Hashvius mishametes es hamalva, bein bishtar, bein shaloi bishtar. Shvius uli mishamet will take over a halva, whether it's written b'shtar or not b'shtar. Now, what does that mean? What is shtar and what is not b'shtar? Rabbi Shmuel Emet Shavayu, b'shtar, when it says shtar, it means shtar sheyesh b'achrayis nechasim. A shtar that has a shibud of karka. In other words, there's a shtar that is written as Meshabed puts a lien on the property. That would be, you shviyasui mishamed that. And shtar sheyesh b'achrayis nechasim. Shaloi b'shtar means she'ein b'achrayis nechasim. And a shtar that does not have achrayis mechasim, right? Also, you would be mishamit, and koshki milval peh, it would be mishamit and milval peh. So according to Rav and Shmuel, the shvius is mishamit when it's mishamit every chayv. Even if it's a chayv that has has karka backing it up. You have a property over there backing it up, it would be mishamit that. Certainly mishamit a shtar that doesn't have property, and certainly one that doesn't have a shtar at all. However, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon, and Lakish Tami Travayu, the shtar, when it says shtar, it means shtar she'ein bo achrayis nechasim. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan's shtar is Rav and Shmuel's shaloi b'shtar, guys, right? Rabbi Yochanan's b'shtar is Rav and Shmuel's shaloi b'shtar, a shtar that does not have achrayis nechasim. Shaloi b'shtar milval peh. Aval shtar she'ein achrayis nechasim. A shtar that has achrayis nechasim ain't a mishamet. Shvius would not be mishamet. Why would not that be? Says Rashi. The kigavli dami. It's considered as if it's collected already. U'kemosha karkas becheskas hamilvahein. We'll view the karka as if in the possession of the milva. The goy vaysa mamish ve'ein kan chayv, and there's no chayv. Again, I go saying this over and over again. The reason it's mishamet, you can't make a claim. You can't make I can't claim to you for you to pay me up. Says Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, if the loan is guaranteed with a shtar that has karka, that karka is already considered by me, by the milva, the lien, it's by me already. So it's gavaina dummy. And memela, it's not shaykh lo yigois, because I don't have to make the claim. Memela shvius will not be mishamet that chayv. That's the reason. Again, since it's already, Rashi says, since that land is there to pay back, to ensure repayment, it will be considered as if what? As if it's a my reshus kigavli dami, and memela it's not. There's no lo yigois, and therefore what? It would shvius not be mishamet. However, according to Rav and Shmuel, no. Rav and Shmuel would say you physically have to collect the land, and therefore what? It's lo yigois, and therefore shvius will be mishamet. Hanika basid Rabbi Yochanan, Reb Shimon ben Lakish, shtar choiv mishamet. A shtar choiv would be mishamet. V'im yesh by achrayis nechasim. However, if the shtar has achrayis nechasim, ain't a mishamet, then it's not going to be mishamet. If it's achrayis nechasim, then it will not be mishamet. Hanyi another brisa. Sayim lo soda achas balvasai. He goes there and he designates the borders of a soda with his halva. In other words, he's designating it this boundary, that boundary. Ain't a mishamet. Shvius will not be mishamet that. Why? Because it's considered. I guess it's very designated. Even you just wrote, all my nechasim are responsible and co-signed to you. Ain't a mishamet and shvius not be mishamet. So that's the raya to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish that one, if you have achrayis nechasim, then shvius not mishamet. Okay, machlokes Rabbi Shmuel, no, by shtai, I feel nechasim, you feel yesh b'achrayis, and Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan, yes. Kraver the Ravasi, Havili al Hushtara, the relative Ravasi had the star, Davik Sivbei, achrayis nechasim. Now, so what would you say? What's the halacha? You say it's machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Asla kamei the Ravasi, Amalei mishamet or ain't mishamet? Amalei ain't mishamet. It's not mishamet. Okay. Shavke left Ravasi. Vasla kamei the Rabbi Yochanan. What would you expect Rabbi Yochanan to say, guys? That's mishamet, right? That's not that's not mishamet. Amalei mishamet. He said it's mishamet. Asla Ravasi the kamei the Rabbi Yochanan. Amalei mishamet or ain't mishamet? Amalei mishamet. But Marhu the Amar ain't mishamet. But you Rabbi Yochanan, you're the one who said it's not mishamet. Amalei v'chim ifnei sha'anu medamim nasa ma'aseh. Rashi. Midamin, nira beinenu. We thought this is it made sense to us. Ukibidumim anu kain. However, v'lo shamanu Rav was saying we didn't hear from. We don't. In other words, in Svara it makes sense. Rabbi Yochanan, I didn't hear from my Rebbe, and therefore I'm not going to go ahead and say that it's that the chiddush that the shtar that has the chasim in it has karka in it is not mishamet. I'm going out on a limb. Hasha, l'chari had a brisa backing him up. It's just what a brisa. Amalei. So Rav Asi v'tana kavase demar, right? Yeah, we had a raya. Not excuse me. Rav Asi came in front of his relative. Rav Asi, yeah. L'chei Rabbi Yochanan had a raya from a brisa. Amalei dilma hi beishamai hi. Damishtar ha'oy miligvois is kigavli dami. Guys, we had Masech the Saita. The husband dies before man has a chance to drink. Does she get a ksuba or not? We said she's asked to her husband, right? She said. So the only time she gets a ksuba, she would drink. But Beis Shammai said she collects a ksuba even though she doesn't drink. Why? Because so maybe this brisa that said it's considered in the Rishus of the Malva already, that would be only like the Shittas Beis Shammai. And we know Beis Shammai and Malkan Beis Hillel in the Mishnah. So it might be a riot to me, but it could be it's Beis Shammai, and therefore I can't pass in according to that. Tan Hassam. Hamalva eschavera mois ala mashkin. Someone goes ahead and lends to his chaver money on a mashkin. So in other words, he has collateral backing up the loan, and he's holding on to the mashkin. He's holding on to it. Comes the Shemitah year, or v'amoisish the Russell Bezdin, or he gives over the start to Bezdin. Ein mishamtin. It's not mishamet. Bishleim amoisish the Russell Bezdin. The tafsi lahu beidina. Bezdin's holding on to the chayiv. And why did we say though the Yigois he can't make a claim, but Bezdin will make a claim for him? Elamav alamashkin my time. What's the reason? Amarava mishum the toughest lay, because he's holding on to it, meaning it's considered that he collected already. Rashi the toughest lay, vein and noikshay, and he's not going to go ahead and make a claim. V'tavei klum, fellas. If he has the security of collateral in his hands, he's not going to go tell him to pay up. When you pay up, you'll get back your mashkin. I'm holding on to your Sandy Koufax baseball card circa 1955. It's worth a fortune. You have a loan, right? I'm holding on to this. I'm never making a claim on you. Either Rabbi, I hope you default on the loan. I'll be in better place, right? So therefore, since he's not going to come to Yigois to go ahead and make the claim, the mail is geschmack. Therefore, we understand why what Shvius would not be mishamet. Amalei Abaya, El Miata. You're telling me if the guy is holding on to something that belongs to the loiva, it would be in fact Shvius would not be mishamet. El Miata Hilveu Vidor B'Chatzeiroi. Let's say he lends him money and the malv is living in the chutz's rishus. The toughest lay, you're going to say he's holding on to the property and therefore Shvius will not be mishamet. Hachanami, Delay mishamet. I don't know why not. Maybe not. So I'm alay shiny mashkin dekani lay. Mashkin's different. In other words, if I'm in your rishus, right? If I'm in your rishus, doesn't give me any more security to my loan. I'm in your rishus, so I'm toughest physically in your body, but I don't own anything. A mashkin, on the other hand, is considered mine. What's the right? It's considered yours because you be chay b'achrayis. Anything happens to that mashkin, you'd have to pay. So it's already in your rishus. So therefore, it's very much kegovli damli. It's more the difference between living on the property of the loiva and having a piece of metalfin in your rishus from the loiva is significant. living on the property of the loiva doesn't show any bias that doesn't secure your loan anymore, that you wouldn't want to go ahead and say pay up, right? Masha'en came where you have the mashkin already, it's securing the loan, and therefore what? You're not gonna let you guys. You won't go ahead and come to make a claim. Now, how do you know that a person's koina mashkin? Mid Rabbi Yitzchak, Dam Rabbi Yitzchak. Milayim the balchev shekoina mashkin. How do you know about a balchev is koina mashkin? Shneimar, it says ulachati et tzedakah ifnei Hashem lokecha. This is speaking about, the parsha. If you take a mashkin, you take pajamas during the day, you should return it at night, and the night time during the day. This is the pasuk. And why does it say ulachati et tzedakah? By returning to the almana, returning to the yasim, whoever needs this poor man, by returning to them the mashkin at that time, it's an act of tzedakah. Now, guys, if it belongs to the loiva, what kind of act of tzedakah is it? You're just giving him what's theirs. The fact that it's considered tzedakah, what are you doing? It must be that it's yours. That's a raya, it's yours. Beautiful raya. It may not kind of tzedakah minayin. If he doesn't acquire the mashkin, how can it be an act of tzedakah? I'm just giving the person back what's his. El, you see that he has a bailus over here. That bailus makes the loan already kigavli dummy that I won't come to yigois, and therefore shvius is not mishama that chayv, right? And ain't a kind of tzedakah minayin tamalayim mekan lebal chayv shekoina mashkin. Let's see how we say that is koina mashkin. Okay, Tanan Hasam. We learned over there. Again, Mishnah Shvius, Perik Yud, Mishnah Ches. Hamachze chayv lechaveiroi b'shvius. Rashi, Bisman she'ashvius neheges, v'over love shvius, you passed the 7th year, the achach exziru, right? And now he's returning the loan at the end of Shemitah year, which he doesn't have to. Not that he's returning during the Shemitah year itself. As we're going to see, he doesn't have to say anything. So this guy is being a good Samaritan. What's he doing? He is going, and even though legally he wouldn't have to pay the guy back. Legally, you don't have to pay the guy back. But I would imagine if you owe a person money, I would imagine you'd want to pay the person back. The person did a chesed for you. He gave you a loan. So there's a legal loophole for him not to pay you back. But the assumption is that you'd want to pay him back. As a matter of fact, we're going to see the lashon of the Rambam that you should do it, right? However, there's a mitzvah over here. It's a very funny mitzvah. Listen to this. So if you're machzeh chayv lechaver in the Shemitah, tzarich sheyomer, the Malva has to tell him, like, mishaman ani. You can't just take the money and say, Yasha Kayach. You say, Mishaman ani. No, it's the 7th year's over, right? Mishaman ani. I have no claim on you. I have no claim. He has to say that. The im amar loy, and if the loiva says afal pikain, if the loiva says I don't care, then you kabel imenu. You should makabel from him shenemar, because it says v'zeh divar hashmita. This is the divar hashmita. In other words, you say things. You say mishaman ani, and he replies what? Now, if the guy doesn't pay you back, he doesn't show up. You have no legal claim. But once he shows up and says, I want to pay you back, and you say mishaman ani, now you have a legal claim. We're going to see if he doesn't say afal pikain, you can force him to say afal pikain and get your money back. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabba v'talile, and the Malva can force the loiva, literally string him up. Until he says afal pikain. In other words, if he doesn't show up to pay the loan, but once you show up to pay the loan, then you can force the issue. When the loiva gives the money to the malva, don't say I'm giving to you to pay up my chayv, because the chayv is mishamet. It's mine. I'm giving you a matana. So it's mashma. You can't force the issue. If I'm giving you a matana, you can't force me to give you a matana. Amalei, no. You hang him up till he says, I'm giving to you as a matana. I'm hanging up to give it as a matana. Abba bar Marta, who Abba bar Menyume, he's the same person, just Marta was his mother, Menyume was his father. Havimasik be Rabba Zuze, they owed money to Rabba. And it was after the Shemitah year. I sinu nele b'shvius. Amalei, and Rabba said, halachically, I'm required to do this. Mishamed ani. Anyway, so what did Abba do? Shaklinu, he took his money, he went home. Asa Abaya came. Ashkei Davi Otziv, he found Rabbi was sad. Amalei, Amai Otziv, why you sad, Mar? Amalei, Hachi Avi Maisa. He told him exactly what transpired with Abba. Also, Gabei Abaya went to Abba. Amalei, he said, Amtislei Zuze Lamar, you brought money to Rabba? Amalei, Amalei, Umay Amalecha, what did Mar tell you? Amalei, Mishamanani. Amalei, Amalei, Afal Apikain. Did you say to Mar, Rabba Afal Pikain? Amalei, Loi. Amalei, Amalei, Afal Pikain, I was shaklin enough, right? If you would have said Afal Pikain, he would have taken the money from you. Hashtamias now, I'm Tinunele, go bring it to him. The Amalei Afal Pikain. Also, I'm Tinunele. So Abba Bar Mori, Marta, Yumi went to Rabba and he brought him the money. Amalei, he said Afal Pikain, shaklin mine, and Rabba took the money from him. Amar, so Abba said, "Lehavi bei daite behayit sumer Rabbana meikara." I don't know. Amar Rav Yudam Rav Nachman. Neman adam leimed prusbul holy biyadi. A person's believed to say, "I have a prusbul in my hand. V'oven me many, and it was lost from me." My timer. Kimun takin Rabbanan prusbul. Since a person had prusbul and he's able to beat the system legally, by shavik eter v'achli suri. He's not going to go ahead what, right? He's able to go ahead what and believe to say that what I had one. In other words, the person lies only has no recourse. So over here he has recourse, legal recourse. Look at Rashi, look at Taisus. Like Shavik Heter Vachali Surah. I'm Rabbeinu Tam, the Mahai Time and Neman Afila Blay Shvua. That's why he's believed even without a Shvua. Because again, he has a legal recourse to go ahead and avoid the loan, right? Actually avoid, keeping the loan in place. Kiasla Kamei the Rav Amalei, Midi Pusbul Hoyalachava of it. Not only that, if he doesn't say it, we'll make that claim for him. But ask him. You're making a claim. Did you have a prusbul and you lost it? In other words, they in that case would even go ahead and say we claim for him. Right? If a person bal choiv finds a star and there's no prusbul with it, he should not go ahead and pay. Rashi says we say he's not believed. He must be speaking where he made a claim for Ovid of a skinan. Do you love Hachi Tzrichel Neima the Shvius Mishamet? Guys, there must be a chiddush over here. A Bal Choiv that's Motzi a Shtar Choiv, and it doesn't have a prusbul. It must be that what he says there's a prusbul was lost, because if it's not speaking as a prusbul, there's no chiddush whatsoever. There has to be a chiddush over here, right? What would the chiddush be? That he comes, brings the Shtar Choiv and says, "I had a prusbul and I lost it." So it says Hari Allah Yifroi. So it's a kasha. You see that what you don't get paid up. Doesn't with Tanoihi the Tanya. You don't need the prusbul with you because he's able to say that I paid up. So this is the interesting sugya. Just two points. One, the lashon of the Rambam in Perik Tes from Shemitah v'Yovel pasuk halacha chav ches. Kol ha'machzir choiv she'avol of shvius. Anyone who's returning a choiv that shvius passed by, listen to lashon Rambam. Ruach chachamim noichi imena. That the Gemara doesn't say, right? Ruach chachamim noichi imena, meaning it's a good thing. It's a good thing. The chachamim think it's a good thing to go ahead and pay back. The tzarech hamal v'loy melamaxem mishamanani. The malva has to tell the loiva, I'm mishamet. Ukvar niftra mimeni. I gave up, from it already. I want you to keep it from me. Shani lo yigosh, vari no logash. Shenema it says lo yigosh, and what? And you didn't. It says lo yigosh, vari lo logash, and you didn't. But lo yoyim eloi, don't say b'choy v'ani nois l'cha. Lo yoyim eloi shaliheim u'matana ni nois l'cha. That should use that lashon. In other words, the Rambam paskins like both lashonos of the Gemara. You could say you has to say after he came, but not mitaris choy, mitaris what matana, mitaris matana. He doesn't say that. The Agamar is mashma physically, you can go ahead and hang him up. The Rambam says, if he doesn't want to do it, he goes. That's the lashon of the Rambam. Now look at your phone. If you look at your phones, I sent something out. I'll put it on the screen in a second. Let me just get Benji here. Okay, this is the Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mishpat, Simin Samech Zayin. The din of Shemitah is a prusbul. Ein Shemitah's ksafim noiheges min ha-Torah, ele bisman she'yovel noyeg. Shemitah's ksafim is not noyeg min ha-Torah. Midaraisa, there's no din of Shemitah's ksafim only in the time that yovel is noyeg. U'midivrei sefer, however, midarabanan, shete Shemitah's ksafim noiheges bisman hazeh b'chol makan. So that's what we saw, that the whole din of Shemitah's ksafim is only the Rabbanon, because since yovel is not noyeg, but them are not on their places. Memela what? Memela, it's all derabanan. Memela now, it's all derabanan. Says the Haggah. That's the Ramah. Kenu his haskamas hapaiskim. That's all derabanan bisman hazeh. Aval yesh oimrim the ein shmitas neheges bisman hazeh. Shmita means shmitas ksafim pashtas. That there's no shmitas ksafim bisman hazeh, even the Rabbanon. In other words, guys, you hear that even midrabanan there's no shmitas ksafim. This again, he's lived in the 1500s, late 1500s. The Ramah in Ashkenaz that elu she'enoi hagim din shmita klal bisman hazeh. People did not write a prusbul. People would give loans and they would collect them even after 7 years. And this minig to collect the chayiv even after the Shemitah year was noyig in the time of the Rosh, who lived in the 13th century, guys, the 1200s. The Rosh wrote a tshuva, and that's brought down by his son, the Tor. He was screaming like a type of bird, I think. Levatel al-minig. He wanted to be mevatel the-minig, guys. He wanted to be mevatel the-minig of not paying back. These people were paying back. He wanted to be mevatel, because how can you pay back a chayiv? How can you pay back a chayiv? It's noig b'drabanan, and the Rabbanon Shvius is mishamit. They weren't writing prusbul, and they were collecting the loans after the Shemitah year. And the Rosh was screaming, about it, right? The Rosh was screaming about it, right? The karkosu gam kein hachroinim zal b'darkei Moshe, right? Tam leminig she'ein noigim shmita kimavur b'divrei marik sherish tzadik beis umari isolin b'toras abayis simin. That's really dalit shin is shin dalit. We don't say that word. Umaril. Now it's very interesting, guys. In other words, midrabanan. Let's go through it outside. Midaraisa 0. There's no yovel. There's no shmitas ksafim. Midrabanan the shmitas ksafim comes along. There's a shita. The shita of Zechariah. He holds that what? That if there's no yovel, there is no Shemitah, even the Rabbanon, there's no Shemitah's ksafim. And in fact, that's what the Rosh found, that people were not noig Shemitah's ksafim. And he started screaming at them. And this is, again, the Ramah is going back 300 years, going back to the time of the Rosh. And even at the time of the Rosh, he was screaming about it. Now, I heard a beautiful reason for the Rosh. The Rosh said the following, maybe. The Rosh wanted to find a schus. Fellas, remember yesterday in Shir, we asked to Akasha, why did he have to go ahead and come up with a prusbul? There are other ways to avoid collection, right? There are other ways to avoid collection. One of them is Moshe Shteiras of Lebezdin, or the other one, make a Tanai. What's the Tanai? I'm giving you the money on Manas that Shviya should not be Mishamit. In other words, I'm not saying that Shviya can't be Mishamit. I'm giving you a Manas, right? Bishvias. In other words, I'm giving you money on Manas that in Shviya it should be Mishamit. So says the Rosh, perhaps since all the people are lending money on the smach to get that back, it's an unstated tanoi, and that would be the reason people. In other words, he's trying to figure out how is it possible if Shemitah is noig b'drabanan, how's it possible? So if you're giving the money on the condition that after 7 years Shemitah it's not going to be misham in the Shemitah, you could do that. That was Makas Taf Gimel Amid Beis. So that the Rosh said, perhaps that's the reason, the heta, that it was untold Tanai when they gave the loan, since the anticipation was that it won't go off in the 7th year, that the Tanai is built into it. That perhaps is the reason. Now, he brings something very fascinating at the end of this. The English dagdek achareim. You should be medagdek after these ones who said that it's not noig bisman hazeh. In other words, the Ramah does not agree with all the shitas we just mentioned that the shmitas ksafim derabon is not noyig. Ubechez min shnas hashmita nafla machloikis. Now, this is a little lumdus, guys. It's not exact the calendar exactly when shmita would be. So here where the svar would be, if I don't know when shmita is and it's only derabanan, safik derabanan lahakol. That's what you say. Safik derabanan lahakol. That's what you would say. Good. So now, what does it say, guys? Says the Ramah, I'll tell you exactly when Shemitah is. Shemitah is Shin Chaf, it's in the year Shin Chaf, Ushna Shin Chaf Zayin, Hoytz Shemitah, then King year Shnas Shin Lamed Dalid, Haba Alein L'Toiva Shemitah. Yehiratzon Sheyivna Beis Hamikdash V'Yachzu Oz Limnai Shemitah V'Yoyvles Kiyavai Shilai L'Prat. So he tells you, don't think you can get off the hook. This is exactly when the Shemitah is. This is exactly when the Shemitah is. So this gives you like a little overview of the din of Shemitah's Ksafim, and that's exactly what I think it's a nice way to end that sugya. Okay, now let's begin a new sugya, a sugya again of Edom. We know that an Eved Ivri is a full-fledged Jew. An Eved Kanani is Mechuyev Mitzvahs Kiisha. So here's the following case: Eved Shenishpa, an Eved was captured, Upad Uhu, and he was redeemed by another person, a third party. He was not redeemed by the owner; he was redeemed by a second party. Im L'Shem Eved, if he was redeemed as an Eved, Yishtabet, he should be an Eved. To who we'll see. Im L'Shem Ben Chayrin, and if he was redeemed to be a free person, Lo Yishtabet. Okay, so very, very cryptic Mishnah. Machloikis Tanakama and Shimon Gamliel. Tanakama says it depends what he was redeemed for. If he's redeemed for an Eved, he remains an Eved. If redeemed for Ben Chayrin, he's Ben Chayrin. Shimon Gamliel says no difference. Now we're going to Machloikis the Bai of a Rav. Exactly what's the Metzias over here. The Mayaskin. What are we dealing with over here? Ima Lema Lifnei Yush. If you're speaking, let's say he was captured, and the first owner said, "I give up hope. I'll never get him back." Now, l'shum ben chayrin amay lo yishtabed. Then, if it was before Yush, he wasn't miyayish, guys. He was not miyayish. So, I'm hope my Evet's stolen. I'm hoping of getting him back, and the party that redeems him as a ben chayrin. Now, why lo yishtabed? I never gave up hope. The freeing of buying him back out of bondage from Goyim is not an act of freedom, because I still have ownership. I never gave up hope. Ella must be la'achayish. Now, so I gave up hope. So if it's la'achayish, l'shum eved am I yishtabed. Now therefore, and if I gave up hope, if the other person redeemed him, why does he become the owner? Even though he redeemed him to be a slave, the original owner gave up hope, he should be free. So if it was the Yush, why if he's redeemed as a free man, why is he free? And if it's Lachayish, if he's redeemed as an Eved, why is he an Eved? So Amar Rabbi Loyal Lifnei Yush. Loyal Lifnei Yush. Lifnei Yush, so why was the Kasha, then why is he free? Ulashem Eved Yishtabed L'Rabbi Rishon. Very good. Right? Lifnei Yush, you redeem him. Who does he go back as an Eved? He goes back to his original master. L'Shem Ben Chayrin Lo Yishtabed Lo L'Rabbi Rishon L'Besheni. Rabbi Yishon, why not? Rabbi Sheni Loi, Dolishim Ben Chayrin Parke, because he redeemed as a Ben Chayrin. What about Rabbi Rishon? Speaking of Lefnei Yush, but Rabbi Rishon Nami Loi, Dilman Memane V'Lei Parke. In other words, if the fellas, the second person is redeeming him as a Ben Chayrin. He's a liberal. He doesn't believe in slavery. He wants him to go free. It's Lefnei Yush. If he knows when he redeems him as a Ben Chayrin that he's going to go back to his original owner, what's he going to do? He's not going to redeem him. So therefore, what? Therefore says that's the reason why he goes free. So now, it's not Yush. If he redeems him as a slave, he goes back to the original owner. That makes sense. If he redeems him as a Ben Chayrin, he's free. The original master didn't give up hope yet, but we want to get this guy out of the hands of the Goyim. He's Mechuyev Mitzvahs Kiisha. So therefore, since it's the lesser of two evils, right? So since if he knew that he's going to go back to the original owner, he's not going to redeem him as the Ben Chayrin. He's not going to redeem him, period. Therefore, he goes free. So that's a Bayashita, guys. So let's go outside. Says Abaya, it's like, let's go back to the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Eved shenishma padu, im l'shum Eved, if he was redeemed as an Eved lifnei Yush, then yishtabe to the original owner. Im l'shum ben chayrin, if lifnei Yush, he was l'shum ben chayrin, lo yishtabed, or else the second person won't redeem him. L'shum galayma ben kach yishtabed. Let's see the Gemara, we have to see, right? Says the Gemara, L'shum galayma ben kach yishtabed, kasava kashem shemitzvah liftais es ben bnei chayrin, kach mitzvah liftais es ha'avodim. Just like it's a mitzvah to yipoida ben chayrin, so too it's a mitzvah to yipoida avodim, and therefore a person won't refrain because it's a mitzvah to do it, guys. In other words, even though he's ben chayrin, doesn't make a difference. It's a mitzvah. He's doing a mitzvah, so he will always be an eved, and the guy's going to do the mitzvah anyway. Okay. Rava Amar. Rabbi says la'olam la'acha yush. Okay, now what's the problem? If it's after yush, why the shame eved? Why does he remain an eved? L'shem eved yishtabed l'Rabbi Sheni. Oh, you know who's mishtabed too? Second guy. L'shem, because the first guy gave up hope. L'shem ben chayrin lo yishtabed lo l'Rabbi l'Rishon l'Rabbi Sheni. Why? The whole l'shem ben chayrin parke, because he right, and l'Rabbi Rishon nami loy the la'acha yush have it's after yush. L'shem ben gamliel loy ben kach u'ben kach yishtabed ki d'chizkiya. Dam chizkiya they ma omer ben kach u'ben kach yishtabed. If there's a way out, every person's going to go ahead and he's going to run and jump and he's going to get free. Okay, so let's stick Rav in the Mishnah now. After Yush, Im l'shem Eved yishtabe to the Rabbi Sheni, because after Yush. Im l'shem ben chayrin lo yishtabe, because why? Because the first guy gave up hope, and the second one is the ben chayrin. Why? Because in order that the person should jump at a chance and go ahead and get free by taking on, jumping into an army to be free and be captured. Okay, so that's machlekes. Now says the Gemara Vaytra. So Abaye lefnei yush and Rava la'acha yush. Mesidei. Amar lehem Rishon Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel said to them, right? What did he say to them? Kishem she mitzvah liftois es b'nei chayrin, kach mitzvah liftois es avodim. Now, Bishleim la Abaye dama lifnei yush. It says that what it's speaking lifnei yush. So therefore, why would a person go ahead and redeem? Why would a person redeem the ben chayrin? The hainu the karma kashem. It's a mitzvah to do it. So therefore, lifnei yush. It's a mitzvah to redeem him. He's going to remain a slave. We don't care. It's a mitzvah to free him, to get away from goyim. Ela Rava dama la'acha yush. Hay kashem. That's not the reason Reb Shimon Gamliel. Guys, what was Reb Shimon's answer to Rava? His answer was Kechizkiya, that he shouldn't go ahead and get captured and to ensure his freedom. So it's not Kashem. Kashem would make sense according to Abaya, right? Why if speaking of Lefnei Yish, why would you redeem him in the first place if nothing is gained? And the answer is a mitzvah. But it's according to Rava that's speaking la'acha yush. If it's acha yush, the retort should not be just like there's a mitzvah to be paid a person. There's a mitzvah to be paid an eved. The retort should have been that if you don't redeem him, if you're gonna say that he goes free, then he's just going to jump at the chance to be captured and go free. He didn't know what the Rabban said. This is what he said. If you're saying that he was captured before the original owner gave up hope, he was paid before the original owner. That's the kashem. It's still a mitzvah though, even though what you don't get anything out of it. Even the ben chayrin he's going to remain an eved. And if he said after years kid Chizkiya, like Chizkiya, that what says what that he shouldn't throw himself on the invading army. According to Rava, after Yush. So guys, outside. According to Rava, after Yush, and you're being paid to him the same Eved. So who gets him? The Rabbi Sheni, right? Who's the Rabbi Sheni being kind from? The guy? Fred the Gemara. Man Kanile, Mishvoy, from the captive. Shaboy Gufa mi Kanile. The guy is kind of. What's the kind of? Linya Maisa Yadav. He's not kind of the physical body, but he's kind of him for his work. How do you know a guy is kind of a guy l'maisa yadav? Shneimar, it says v'gam mibnei hateshavim hagorim imachem mehem tiknu. Atem kind of mehem. You Jew can be kind of from them, from the goyim. Lehem kind of lachem, but the goyim they can't be kind of from you. They can't buy a Jew. Lehem kind of mizeh mizeh. Nor can one guy be kind of from another guy. Yachal Yiknu says there. I might think that, right? I mean, I might think you can't be kind of one from the other. Fred, what are you talking about? Like you just said. Yeah. You just said you can't. The guy can't acquire another guy bodily that he owns his rights like an animal. But I might think that one guy can't acquire another guy for his Maisa Yadav. I'm a Kavachaimer. Oivi Kechavim Yisrael Kaina. Oivi Kechavim Yisrael could acquire. Oivi Kechavim Yisrael Kaina. Oivi Kechavim like Kal Shekain. If an Oivi Kechavim Yisrael can be Kaina Yisrael Maisa Yadav, and Oivi Kechavim certainly can be Kaina Oivi Kechavim Maisa Yadav. So that would be Pshat over here. So we have Rav's Pshat. Rav's Pshat is that since the guy owns the Maisa Yadav of the captive Eved, right? He's able to go ahead and that Kinyan, he's able to go ahead and sell to the Paida, and therefore, since it was Paida him l'shem Eved, he required him l'shem Eved. Okay, Shir's going to be in the afternoon tomorrow, not in the morning. Shir's going to be in the afternoon tomorrow, not in the morning. Okay, I'll post the time. Good evening.